With markets reapproaching all-time highs and the Federal Reserve looking to lower interest rates in the coming few months, I think this would be the perfect opportunity to make a video where I reveal my entire investment portfolio right before the bull run actually starts. So let's start with the account that made me want to kill myself multiple times, and I'm of course talking about my Coinbase account. This account currently sits at $15,000 and is up $800 all time. Now before going into the portfolio, I want to preface by saying that I'm sorry if this video comes across as bragging in any way. It was through watching videos like this growing up that allowed me to get inspired to start my own company in the first place. And my intention is that hopefully I can do the same for one of my 10 subscribers. So now back to the video. And what's funny about this account is I actually started it by putting just $10,000 in, and I literally doubled my money in just under a month. I was able to time this market so perfectly because I saw a few indicators that were showing that this was about to take off, such as interest rates being lowered, the Bitcoin halving taking place in April, and then the ETFs being approved by the SEC. Since that point, I basically lost all the money, and then since then I've put $5,000, but only into Ethereum and Bitcoin. This is because I genuinely do believe in the long-term future of these projects, and I'm just done investing in these smaller positions such as Chainlink, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Solana. Every time I invest in these altcoins thinking they're gonna make me rich, I always just lose my money, so I've completely cut it out. Well, that's actually a blatant lie. Literally less than a week ago, I put $500 into a coin named after Dolan Duck because I saw a TikTok of a kid saying that it was gonna make me rich. And believe it or not, I actually did not get rich and I lost $100 on it so far. I will be continuing to dollar cost average into Ethereum and Bitcoin moving forward, but that's about it with this account. My next account, which is my Robinhood account, which is currently sitting at $2,500 and is up 26% all time, which is actually really good. Now this account balance is relatively small, and it's because I haven't used this account since I stopped working at Smoothie King. This account was kind of a side hustle where I would just trade on the side with the money I'd get to hopefully make some extra cash, and I actually got really good at it. As you can see, I'm up 80% on Dick's Sporting Goods, 9% on General Mills. This company went bankrupt. I'm up 20% on Lockheed Martin, 35% on PayPal, and 95% on Robinhood. Holy fuck. Now, when I did work at Smoothie King, I pretty much read every single book there was on economics, banking, and just investing in general, and that's how I got pretty decent at it. And I actually outperformed the market on 4 out of 6 stocks, which is actually a really good percentage, with the only real company I lost money on being Beam. Now, I'm still actually very comfortable with this position and do believe in it because they are an EV charging company with contracts with pretty much every single big corporation and government. And because investing is pretty much all just identifying narratives, I still think it's a very safe one considering that EVs are clearly the narrative of the future, with laws already being in place that say every car has to be an electric vehicle that is produced after 2030. With all that being said though, I am still down 20% on that position. And now that I have more money, I just don't have the time like I used to be diving deep into a company's 10K reports, 10Qs, and identifying trends, so I pretty much just left this account alone for a while. Now let's actually start with the responsible side of my investments, starting with my Roth IRA. Now I only have $6,500 in this account, and that's because these accounts are so powerful that governments actually limit how much you can put in them per year. Now these accounts are so powerful because it pretty much allows all the money inside of it to grow completely tax-free. Meaning that at the age of retirement, if you maxed out every year, you'd have $1.5 million, and that is straight cash that you can pull out. If that was any other brokerage, you would lose about 50% of it just to taxes alone. Because this is a retirement account, I do have to be relatively safe in here, so I only invest in mutual funds that are the International Mutual Fund and the S&P 500. On to the next account, which has about $9,000 in it and is also up about 10%. And this account is only for any extra money I have that isn't currently being used for real estate, and it's only after all my retirement and tax benefit accounts have been maxed out. Now, I originally used this account to be riskier and invest in companies such as Apple, Amazon, Meta, Google, and that's because I realized that over the past few years, over 92% of the gains that the S&P 500 has seen have completely been made up by just 10 stocks alone. So I figured, why not just cut out the middleman, invest directly into those 10 companies so I don't have to pay for 490 other companies that aren't as good. And I've recently stopped doing that, and I found out that it's stupid to do that, and I'll explain why at the end of this video. Now next up is my Merrill Lynch account, and it has $24,000 in it, and it just sits in a CMA earning 4.5% on any money put inside. This account I use to invest in short-term US treasuries and is used strictly to save up for my next real estate property. My goal is to have 5 paid off properties before turning 25, and here's why. The bad thing that I've noticed about stocks is they really only increase your net worth and not your actual income. It's also so annoying to sell stocks because you actually get f***ed by Uncle Sam due to capital gains taxes. So they're really only worth it if you're investing through retirement accounts, and because I'm so young, I don't want to wait 40 years to be able to pull all that money out and get a Porsche 911 GT3. Properties, on the other hand, offer way more tax benefits such as 1031s, which allow you to sell your house and then use the money from that house to roll over into a new one without paying any taxes on it. By getting 5 paid off properties, I'll hopefully be making around another $10,000 per month in income, as well as make all the money on appreciation on top of that. Which brings me to my actual real estate portfolio. I just bought my first property for $218,000 and I have $70,000 in equity in it so far. Now I have already made a lot of money in this deal because I bought it at such a good time and also at such an undervalued and insane price. In appreciation alone, this house is already worth about 23% more than when I bought it, and that's not just a random number I'm throwing out. The house directly next door to mine just sold for $298,000 and it has less square footage than my house, as well as one less bedroom. I won't talk too much about this investment because it is my video for next week, and in that video, I'll go deep into why I bought it as well as the finances behind the property. Now, I do want to share my investment strategy moving forward as I think we're entering a very interesting and scary time that's going to result in a lot of opportunity, all due to AI. We're entering a time very similar to the dot-com crash that we saw in the early 2000s, and similar to revolutions we've seen in the past. The US government is predicting that 300 million jobs will be lost in the next 5 years alone in Europe and the United States, all due to AI. With that, 300 million new jobs will be created, and because it's too hard to tell what jobs will stay and what jobs will go, I'd rather just invest in mutual funds and stay diversified for the time being. Now, I've spent a lot of time studying these previous crashes, and what I've noticed is that a lot of the companies that are the most prolific of today actually end up never fully recovering. Consider Intel. Previous to the dot-com crash, Intel was one of the most prolific companies in the world and was one of the leading innovators in tech. No one could have fathomed a market where Intel isn't one of the biggest companies. And yet, in the 20 years that followed the crash, it has never fully recovered from its previous all-time highs. With AI, it's very likely that that could happen to a lot of the companies of today, so I'd rather not bet on individual stocks and would rather just stay extremely diversified for the time being. I also think it's stupid to invest in singular stocks right now because they're so much riskier and more volatile. And because the S&P has survived every large economic crash and every single war, I'd rather just bet on it and then hold for the long term. So that wraps it up for all my investments, bringing my total portfolio to just around $100,000, with an additional $197 in my DraftKings account from a parlay that I hit last night. I think it'd be really fun to update this portfolio once every 6 months to a year so that we can see how my portfolio has changed, as well as see how my investment strategy has changed moving forward.